Good evening, everyone. Howell George, first in the chat. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the Bible Hour. We have 6 minutes to gather our things together. Thank you, Diane. Thank you. Very true, I think. Thank you very much, Howell, for that abusive message. Good evening, Phil Tamlin. Good evening, Sue Roberts. Shirts or bites? I don't know what that means. It sounds like a joke. Petit Bois, good evening. The gang is coming in. Day 20. Of the Bible Hour. See first sentence. Come on, come on, come on. I want Bible. Shirts or bites? Come on, come on, come on. I want Bible. Shirts or bites? No, Sue can't connect it to the first sentence. Sorry. Welcome on in if you are new to the Bible Hour. Welcome, Park End. Before that, I can't see anything before that on my chat. Sorry. Welcome to Park End Admin and Sam at home. We are plowing through the book of Numbers. We are redeeming the times in lockdown. Do you remember the time when you didn't read a Bible for an hour a day? Barren times, barren. And we are on Numbers chapter 18. And you have 3 minutes to get there. It's the B team on admin tonight. It's a different admin. All right. Okay, B for Barrett. Petit Bois, yes, this is so helpful. It'll be the first time I've read it through. Glory. What a time to do it. Richard Barrett is in the house. We have 2 minutes. Yes, I didn't realize how special this would be. The Bible Hour. It's been a great thing. And we are, if we are on for 60 days, a third of the way through. But if I carry on sort of getting carried away and excited, and it's going to be more than 60. I'll plow through the New Testament. I'll read it like the Financial Times, because it's not anything new anyway that happens there, minus 1 or 2. Sue Roberts still talking about something that happened 6 or 7 minutes ago. We have 1 minute to go. Welcome to the Bible Hour, day 20. Oh, Sue, by the way, I felt a bit bad that I delayed answering your question yesterday until probably the end of the book of Joshua. Hey, Chris. So in short, there aren't 13 tribes, and we're going to see sometimes the tribe of Joseph is called the tribe of Joseph, but other times it's called the tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim because they're split into two when it comes to sort of allocating the land and that. And I think in the picture you had seen in the tabernacle one, Ephraim and Manasseh had both been laid out there. They're two halves of one. This is a lifeline for me. I've studied Trinitarian theology and not finding a church that gets it here. If you read the Bible and ask the question, what does it teach us about Jesus? It just leads you to Trinitarian theology. Hey, Genesis 49, that's right. Okay, welcome on in. Numbers, chapter 18. Day 20 of the Bible Hour. It's funny, that's exactly how Jesus read the whole Bible. He's like, he just explains things concerning himself, all things. Thank you, Rachel Freeman. All right, climb aboard as we come to Numbers chapter 18. More about the high priest, which was all yesterday. And you've got to love how he gets the firstborn because the future of church is just bound up with the high priest. Church will continue forevermore. He's got the future sorted. Just give it to him. And the best thing as well, I love, with the whole priesthood thing is if you give him a gift, he eats it. And it's like your gifts become part of him, which is worship, isn't it? Numbers 18. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Duties of priests and Levites. Then the Lord said to Aaron, you, your sons, and your relatives from the tribe of Levi will be held responsible for any offenses related to the sanctuary. But you and your sons alone will be held responsible for violations connected with the priesthood. Bring your relatives of the tribe of Levi, your ancestral tribe, to assist you and your sons as you perform the sacred duties in front of the tabernacle of the covenant. But as the Levites go about all their assigned duties at the tabernacle, they must be careful not to go near any of the sacred objects or the altar. If they do, both you and they will die. The Levites must join you in fulfilling their responsibilities for the care and maintenance of the tabernacle, but no unauthorized persons may assist you. You yourselves must perform the sacred duties inside the sanctuary and at the altar. If you follow these instructions, the Lord's anger will never again blaze against the people of Israel. I myself have chosen your fellow Levites from among the Israelites to be your special assistants. They are a gift to you, dedicated to the Lord for service in the tabernacle. But you and your sons, the priests, must personally handle all the priestly rituals associated with the altar and with everything behind the inner curtain, obviously. I am giving you the priesthood as your special privilege and service. Any unauthorized person who comes too near the sanctuary will be put to death. Support for the priests and Levites. Verse 8. The Lord gave these further instructions to Aaron. I myself have put you in charge of all the holy offerings that are brought to me by the people of Israel. I have given all these consecrated offerings to you and your sons as your permanent share. You are allotted the portion of the most holy offerings that is not burned in the fire. This portion of all the most holy offerings, including the grain offerings, sin offerings, and guilt offerings, will be most holy. If you want to know about offerings, go to our YouTube page as we clipped it from a few weeks ago. It belongs to you and your sons. You must eat it as a most holy offering. All the males may eat of it, and you must treat it as most holy. All the sacred offerings and special offerings presented to me when the Israelites lift them up before the altar also belong to you. I have given them to you and to your sons and daughters as your permanent share. Any member of your family who is ceremonially clean may eat of these offerings. I also give you the harvest gifts brought by the people as offerings to the Lord, the best of the olive oil, new wine, and grain. All the first crops of their land that the people present to the Lord belong to you. Any member of your family who is ceremonially clean may eat this food. Everything in Israel that is specially set apart for the Lord also belongs to you. The firstborn of every mother, whether human or animal, that is offered to the Lord will be yours. Isn't that just a great thing? My children are bound up in the great high priest church forever. But you must always redeem your firstborn sons and the firstborn of ceremonially unclean animals. Redeem them when they are 1 month old. The redemption price is 5 pieces of silver, as measured by the weight of the sanctuary shekel, which equals 20 gerahs. However, you may not redeem the firstborn of cattle, sheep, or goats. They are holy and have been set apart for the Lord. Sprinkle their blood on the altar and burn their fat as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The meat of these animals will be yours, just like the breast and right thigh that are presented by lifting them up as a special offering to the altar. Yes, I am giving you all these holy offerings that the people of Israel bring to the Lord. They are for you and your sons and daughters to be eaten as your permanent share. This is an eternal and unbreakable covenant between the Lord and you, and it also applies to your descendants. And the Lord said to Aaron, you priests will receive no allotment of land or share of property among the people of Israel. I am your share and your allotment. As for the tribe of Levi, your relatives, I will compensate them for their service in the tabernacle. Instead of an allotment of land, I will give them the tithes from the entire land of Israel. From now on, no Israelites except priests or Levites may approach the tabernacle. If they come too near, they will be judged guilty and will die. Only the Levites may serve at the tabernacle, and they will be held responsible for any offenses against it. This is a permanent law for you to be observed from generation to generation. The Levites will receive no allotment of land among the Israelites because I have given them, the Israelites, tithes, which have been presented as sacred offerings to the Lord. This will be the Levites' share. This is why I said they would receive no allotment of land among the Israelites. The Lord also told Moses, give these instructions to the Levites. When you receive from the people of Israel, the tithes I have assigned as your allotment, give 1/10 of the tithes you receive, a tithe of the tithe, to the Lord as a sacred offering. The Lord will consider this offering to be your harvest offering, as though it were the first grain from your own threshing floor or from wine from your own winepress. You must present 1/10 of the tithe received from the Israelites as a sacred offering to the Lord. This is the Lord's sacred portion, and you must present it to Aaron the priest. Be sure to give to the Lord the best portions of the gifts given to you. Also, give these instructions to the Levites. When you present the best part as your offering, it will be considered as though it came from your own threshing floor or winepress. You Levites and your families may eat this food anywhere you wish, for it is your compensation for serving in the tabernacle. You will not be considered guilty for accepting the Lord's tithes if you give the best portion to the priests. Be careful not to treat the holy gifts of the people of Israel as though they were common. If you do, they will die. Check out Numbers 19. Now, I don't want to get fancy or techie, but Adam, the name is like basically Adamah, which means red earth. So Adam he represents us and symbol of death and all that stuff that Adam messed up. But the red earth is also like a symbol of earthenness. So when you see this word Adamah, I suppose we're not reading it in Hebrew, are they? Or Adam, whatever the NLT is going to call it. I haven't looked yet. The ashes from this red earth-colored heifer, Adamah, is used to purify the people. So you've got red, like this bloody colored animal dies. You got the name Adam, like death and humanity, and the ashes from it make people clean. It's just interesting that they had to choose the Adamah bull. I love it. Okay, let's look. Any reminders of Jesus? Numbers 19. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, here is another legal requirement commanded by the Lord. Tell the people of Israel to bring you a red heifer. All right? Red heifer. A perfect animal that has no defects and has never been yoked to a plow. Give it to Eleazar the priest, and it will be taken outside the camp and slaughtered in his presence. Eleazar will take some of its blood on his finger and sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tabernacle. As Eleazar watches, the heifer must be burned, its hide, meat, blood, and dung. Eleazar the priest must then take a stick of cedar, a hyssop branch, and some scarlet yarn and throw them into the fire where the heifer is burning. Then the priest must wash his clothes and bathe himself in water. Afterward, he may return to the camp, though he will remain ceremonially unclean until evening. The man who burns the animal must also wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and he too will remain unclean until evening. Then someone who is ceremonially clean will gather up the ashes of the heifer and deposit them in a purified place outside of the camp. They will be kept there for the community of Israel to use in the water for the purification ceremony. This ceremony is performed for the removal of sin. So let's just take a back step here. A clean man is presenting the ashes of an Adamic perfect figure of red blood, which has been killed and is now going out to heal. The man who gathers up the ashes of the heifer must also wash his clothes, and he will remain ceremonially unclean until evening. This is a permanent law for the people of Israel and any foreigners who live among them. All those who touch a dead human body will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. They must purify themselves on the 3rd and 7th days with the water of purification, obviously, those days. Then they will be purified. But if they do not do this on the 3rd and 7th day, they will continue to be unclean even after the 7th day. All those who touch a dead body and do not purify themselves in the proper way defile the Lord's tabernacle, and they will be cut off from the community of Israel. Since the water of purification was not sprinkled on them, their defilement continues. If you want to get clean, bathe in the blood of the Adamic red heifer, the perfect sacrifice. This is the ritual law that applies when someone dies inside a tent. All those who enter that tent and those who were inside when the death occurred will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days. Any open container in the tent that was not covered with a lid is also defiled. And if someone in an open field touches the corpse of someone who was killed with a sword or who died a natural death, or if someone touches a human bone or a grave, that person will be defiled for 7 days. To remove the defilement, put some of the ashes from the burnt purification offering in a jar and pour fresh water over them. Then someone who is ceremonially clean must take a hyssop branch and dip it into the water. That person must sprinkle the water on the tent, on all the furnishings in the tent, and on the people who were in the tent, also on the person who touched a human bone, or who touched someone who was killed, or who died naturally, or touched a grave. Can some clean man sprinkle cleansing power over me? In Jesus, the sacrifice and the giver is the same. On the 3rd and 7th days, the person who is ceremonially clean must sprinkle the water on those who are... This looks like I'm on the way to heaven. Hang on. Are defiled. Then on the 7th day, the people being cleansed must wash their clothes and bathe themselves, and that evening they will be cleansed of their defilement. But those who become defiled and do not purify themselves will be cut off from the community, for they have defiled the sanctuary of the Lord. Since the water of purification has not been sprinkled on them, they remain defiled. Picture yourself as an average Israelite. I need the Adamic bull, the perfect Adam, to cleanse me. I need his redness. Isn't it a belter? This is the permanent law for the people. Those who sprinkle the water of purification must afterward wash their clothes, and anyone who then touches the water used for purification will remain defiled until evening. Anything and anyone that defiled person touches will be ceremonially unclean until evening. What a gospel passage that is. Love it. Numbers chapter 20. I think Moses does a whoopsie here. I think Moses is the greatest person in the entire Bible, except one. But I think he does a whoopsie in Numbers 20. Quite a serious whoopsie. In the first month of the year, the whole community of Israel arrived in the wilderness of Zin and camped at Kadesh. While they were there, Miriam died and was buried. So that's Moses' sister. There was no water for the people to drink at that place, so they rebelled against Moses and Aaron. The people blamed Moses and said, "If only we had died in the Lord's presence with our brothers. Why have you brought the congregation of the Lord's people into this wilderness to die along with all our livestock? Why did you make us leave Egypt and bring us here to this terrible place? This land has no grain, no figs, no grapes, no pomegranates, and no water to drink. It's like you read it thinking, you're not doing this again, are you? But how don't we do that every day? Grumble against the Lord, not really trusting he's going to provide for us that day. We do. Moses and Aaron turned away from the people and went to the entrance of the tabernacle, where they fell face down on the ground. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to them, and the Lord said to Moses, "You and Aaron must take the staff and assemble the entire community. As the people watch, speak to the rock over there, and it will pour out its water. You will provide enough water from the rock to satisfy the whole community and their livestock." So Moses did as he was told. He took the staff from the place where it was kept before the Lord. Then he and Aaron summoned the people to come and gather at the rock. "Listen, you rebels," he shouted. "Must we bring you water from this rock?" Then Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff, and water gushed out. So the entire community and their livestock drank their fill. And that rock was Christ. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not trust me enough to demonstrate my holiness to the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land I am giving them." This place was known as the waters of Meribah, which means arguing, because there the people of Israel argued with the Lord, and there he demonstrated his holiness among them. You know the psalm about where they grumbled in Mizpah and Meribah? I did a Bible study in another church recently on the psalm that quotes that. And in the version they use, it didn't even use the words Mizpah and Meribah. It threw me for six. While Moses was at Kadesh, he sent ambassadors to the king of Edom with this message. "This is what your relatives, the people of Israel, say. You know all the hardships we have been through. Our ancestors went down to Egypt and we lived there a long time. And we and our ancestors were brutally mistreated by the Egyptians. But when we cried out to the Lord, he heard us and sent an angel who brought us out of Egypt. Now we are camped at Kadesh, a town on the border of your land. We will be careful not to go through your fields and vineyards. We won't even drink from water from your wells. We will stay on the King's Road and never leave it until we have passed through your territory." You remember the whole Jacob and his Esau story we read probably about 12 days ago now? Esau's descendants are Edomites. So there's a ropey history here. But the king of Edom said, "Stay out of my land, or I will meet you with an army." The Israelites answered, "We will stay on the main road. If our livestock drink your water, we will pay for it. Just let us pass through your country, that's all we ask." But the king of Edom replied, "Hey, Jonty, 6 years old. Wow, that's the most amazing thing I have ever heard. Moses striking the rock, and that rock was Christ, wasn't it? Doesn't Christ fill us every day with his water, his divine water?" Nice one, Jonty. You got it. You should open a Bible college if you've got that, because most Bible colleges haven't even come that far. Hey, Jonty, as you're 6 years old, start reading systematic theologies and see how many pages go by before they even mention Jesus as they try to explain the doctrines of God, and they don't even start with Jesus. But you, Jonty, have got it. The rock, Christ, he fills us. That's it. The Israelites answered, "We will stay on the main road. If our livestock drink your water, we'll pay for it. Just let it pass through the country." This is all you ask. Verse 20. But the king of Edom replied, "Stay out, you may not pass through our land." With that, he mobilized his army and marched out against them with an imposing force. Because Edom refused to allow Israel to pass through their country, Israel was forced to turn around. The death of Aaron. The whole community of Israel left Kadesh and arrived at Mount Hor. There, on the border of the land of Edom, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "The time has come for Aaron to join his ancestors in death. He will not enter the land I am giving the people of Israel, because the two of you rebelled against my instructions concerning the water at Meribah. Now take Aaron and his son Eleazar up Mount Hor. There you will remove Aaron's priestly garments and put them on Eleazar, his son. Aaron will die there and join his ancestors." So Moses did as the Lord commanded. The three of them went up Mount Hor together as the whole community watched. At the summit, Moses removed the priestly garments from Aaron and put them on Eleazar, Aaron's son. Then Aaron died there at the top of the mountain, and Moses and Eleazar went back down. When the people realized that Aaron had died, all Israel mourned him for 30 days. That's the end of one of the greats, isn't it? Aaron, although he is a bit of a numpty as well. But he's taken off his garments because he's no longer going to act out the role of Jesus now. Eleazar is instead. Numbers chapter 21. If only there was a high priest who didn't peg it. Peg it, I guess, is a colloquialism for mess it up. Peg it. The Canaanite king of Arad, who lived in the Negev. Oh, die. Yeah, okay. If only there was a high priest who didn't die for very long. Yeah, get it. Or mess it up. The Canaanite king of Arad, who lived in the Negev, heard that the Israelites were approaching on the road through Atharim. So he attacked the Israelites and took some of them as prisoners. Then the people of Israel made this vow to the Lord: "If you will hand these people over to us, we will completely destroy all their towns." The Lord heard the Israelites' request and gave them victory over the Canaanites. The Israelites completely destroyed them and their towns, and the place has been called Hormah ever since. The bronze snake, verse 4. Then the people of Israel set out from Mount Hor, taking the road to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom. But the people grew impatient with the long journey, and they began to speak against God and Moses. Is Owen the only person who did not know what peg it meant? They began to speak against God and Moses. "Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die here in the wilderness?" they complained. "There is nothing to eat here and nothing to drink, and we hate this horrible manna." Manna, by the way, was the food of angels, wasn't it? So the Lord sent poisonous snakes among the people, and many were bitten and died. Then the people came to Moses and cried out, "We have sinned by speaking against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take away the snakes." So Moses prayed for the people. Then the Lord told him, "Make a replica of the poisonous snake and attach it to a pole. All who are bitten will live if they simply look at it." So Moses made a snake out of bronze and attached it to a pole. Then anyone who was bitten by a snake could look at the bronze snake and be healed. Cursed are all those who hang on a tree pole. Here, the bronze of the sacred holy altar has now been turned into a cursed object hanging on a pole. And if the cursed ones look at the hanging cursed, they become clean. What are you learning about Jesus and church today? The Israelites traveled next to Oboth and camped there. Then they went to Ai-Abarim in the wilderness on the eastern border of Moab. From there, they traveled to the valley of Zered Brook and set up camp. Then they moved out and camped on the far side of the Arnon River in the wilderness adjacent to the territory of the Amorites. The Arnon is the boundary line between the Moabites and the Amorites. For this reason, the book of the Wars of the Lord speaks of the town of Wahab in the area of Suphah and the ravines of the Arnon River and the ravines that extend as far as the settlement of Ar on the border of Moab. From there, the Israelites traveled to Beer, which is the well where the Lord said to Moses, "Assemble the people, and I will give them water." There, the Israelites sang this song, "Spring up, O well, yes, sing its praises. Sing of this well, which princes dug, which great leaders hollowed out with their scepters and staffs." Then the Israelites left the wilderness and proceeded on through Mattanah, Nahaleel, and Bamoth. After that, they went to the valley of Moab, where Pisgah Peak overlooks the wasteland. John T again, lots of things. What are you learning about Jesus and church? He thinks he is on a chat with you. Yeah, good. Welcome. This is Fellowshipping Together, the international church. Victory over Sihon and Og. The Israelites sent ambassadors to King Sihon of the Amorites with this message: "Let us travel through your land. We will be careful not to go through your fields and your vineyards. We won't even drink water from your wells. We will stay on the king's road until we have passed through your territory." But King Sihon refused to let them cross his territory. Instead, he mobilized his entire army and attacked Israel in the wilderness, engaging them in battle at Jahaz. But the Israelites slaughtered them with their swords and occupied their land from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River. They went only as far as the Ammonite border because the boundary of the Ammonites was fortified. So Israel captured all towns of the Amorites and settled in them, including the city of Heshbon and its surrounding villages. Heshbon has been the capital of King Sihon of the Amorites. He had defeated a former Moabite king and seized all his land as far as the Arnon River. Therefore, the ancient poets wrote about him: "Come to Heshbon and let it be rebuilt. Let the city of Sihon be restored. A fire flamed forth from Heshbon, a blaze from the city of Sihon. It burned the city of Ar in Moab and destroyed the rulers of the Arnon heights. What sorrows await you, O people of Moab? You are finished, O worshippers of Chemosh. Nasty fake god. Chemosh has left his sons as refugees, his daughters as captives of Sihon, the Amorite king. We have utterly destroyed them from Heshbon to Dibon. We've completely wiped them out as far as the Nophah and Medeba." Basically, they're nicking the song and taking the mick out of those who even wrote the song, because they've now done them over. They've pegged it, them. So the people of Israel occupied the territory of the Amorites. After Moses sent men to explore the Jazer area, they captured all the towns in the region and drove out the Amorites who lived there. Then they turned and marched up the road to Bashan. But the king of Og of Bashan and all his people attacked them at Edrei. The Lord said to Moses, "Do not be afraid of him, for I have handed him over to you, along with all his people and his land. Do the same to him as you did to King Sihon of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon." And Israel killed King Og, his sons, and all his subjects. Not a single survivor remained. Then Israel occupied their land. Nobody beats church when Jesus is the center of church. That reminded me, as I was reading it, of when they approached Jericho coming up in Joshua, and the Lord's like, "No, I've already given it to you." And they're staring at the walls thinking, "Huh? No, I've done it. It's over. You just go and mop up a little bit." Balaam. I'm glad we're at Balaam, because Balaam is one of the most controversial figures in the Bible. I don't particularly like him. I think he's a bit occultish, and I think he's a prophet if you pay him enough money. But he also does get used and sometimes says the right things. But I suppose all false prophets do, don't they? That's why they get a little crowd going. I don't like him. I don't think the New Testament likes him either. But make of Balaam what you will. He's basically going to occupy the next couple of chapters. Then the people of Israel traveled to the plains of Moab and camped east of the Jordan River across from Jericho. Balak, son of Zippor, the Moabite king, had seen everything the Israelites did to the Amorites. Sue Roberts, I played the part of Balaam in The Talking Ass in college. Well, at least you weren't the ass. Although the ass is better than Balaam. Balak, son of Zippor, the Moabite king, had seen everything the Israelites did to the Amorites. And when the people of Moab saw how many Israelites there were, they were terrified. The king of Moab said to the elders of Midian, "This mob will devour everything in sight, like an ox devours grass in the field." So Balak, king of Moab, sent messengers to call Balaam, son of Beor, who was living in the native land of Pethor near the Euphrates River. Midian should know better as well. Do you remember Hobeb, Moses' brother-in-law? Hobeb? He was a Midianite. Look at the vast horde of people that have arrived from Egypt. They cover the face of the earth and are threatening me. Please come and curse these people for me, because they are too powerful for me. Then perhaps I will be able to conquer them and drive them from the land. I know that blessings fall on any people you bless, and curses fall on people you curse. Balak's messengers, who were elders of Moab and Midian, set out with money to pay Balaam to place a curse upon Israel. They went to Balaam and delivered Balak's message to him. "Stay here overnight," Balaam said. "In the morning I will tell you whatever the Lord directs me to say." So the officials from Moab stayed there with Balaam. That night, God came to Balaam and asked him, "Who are these men visiting you?" Balaam said to God, "Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent me this message. Look, a vast horde of people has arrived from Egypt. They cover the face of the earth. Come and curse these people for me. Then perhaps I will be able to stand up to them and drive them out from the land." But God told Balaam, "Do not go with them. You are not to curse these people, for they have been blessed." The next morning, Balaam got up and told Balak's officials, "Go on home. The Lord will not let me go with you." No, he only did that because they paid him. So the Moabite officials returned to King Balak and reported, "Balaam refused to come with us." Then Balak tried again. This time he sent a larger number of even more distinguished officials than those he had sent the first time. They went to Balaam and delivered this message to him. "This is what Balak, son of Zippor, says. Please don't let anything stop you from coming to help me. I will pay you very well and do whatever you tell me. Just come and curse these people for me." But Balaam responded to Balak's messengers, "Even if Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver or gold, I would be powerless to do anything against the will of the Lord my God." Yeah, all right. But don't be fooled. "But stay here one more night, and I will see if the Lord has anything else to say to me." This is my problem. The Lord has already told him what to say. But again, he gives them a footing in. That night God came to Balaam and told him, "Since these men have come for you, get up and go with them, but do only what I tell you to do," for the second time. Balaam and his donkey. Have we all got Sue Roberts' face in our minds now whenever we're thinking about Balaam? So the next morning, Balaam got up, saddled his donkey, and started off with the Moabite officials. But God was angry at Balaam that he was going, so he sent the angel of the Lord to stand in the road to block his way. As Balaam and two servants were riding along, Balaam's donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand. The donkey bolted off to the road into the field, but Balaam beat it and turned it back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord, stood at a place where the road narrowed between two vineyards. Here's another reason I don't buy that Balaam is a decent prophet, because if you're not prophesying about Jesus, what are you doing? And then if Jesus is standing right in front of you and you don't see him, you haven't done the real business to me. If your donkey sees him and you don't, nah. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it tried to squeeze by and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. So Balaam beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved farther down the road and stood in a place too narrow for the donkey to get by at all. This time, when the donkey saw the angel, it lay down under Balaam. In a fit of rage, Balaam beat the animal again with his staff. Park and admin, please can you put the KJV version, the AV, of verse 27 there? Then the Lord gave the donkey the ability to speak. "What have I done to you that deserves your beating me 3 times? It asked Balaam. "You have made me look like a fool," Balaam shouted. "If I had a sword with me, I would kill you." "But I am the same donkey you have ridden all your life," the donkey answered. "Have I ever done anything like this before?" "No," Balaam admitted. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the roadway with a drawn sword in his hand. Yeah, there the Lord opened the eyes, so the one man saw the other Lord. Balaam bowed his head and fell face down on the ground before him. Here's verse 27 of the KJV. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam, and he was angry. Oh, he's hoping for more sort of, he bowed in deferential reverence at his maker, the angel. I'm sure that's what it means. "Why did you beat your donkey those 3 times?" the angel of the Lord demanded. "Look, I have come to block your way because you are stubbornly resisting me. 3 times the donkey saw me and shied away. Otherwise, I would certainly have killed you by now and spared the donkey." No. Then Balaam confessed to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned. I didn't realize you were standing in the road to block my way. I will return home if you are against my going. But the angel of the Lord told Balaam, go with these men, but say only what I tell you to say. So Balaam went on with Balak's officials. When King Balak heard that Balaam was on the way, he went out to meet him at a Moabite town on the Arnon River at the farthest border of his land. Did I send you an urgent invitation? Why didn't you come straight away? Balak asked Balaam. Didn't you believe me when I said I would reward you richly? Balaam replied, look, now I have come. He saw the angel of the Lord standing in the roadway with a drawn sword in his hand. Balaam bowed his head and fell face down on the ground before him. Darren Gilchrist, welcome. Balaam's donkey, one of the only two animals that God gave the ability to speak. Nice. Oh, the Parkend admin did not post the right version. Okay, yeah, it still doesn't say what I wanted it to say. Oh, I think I just started reading the top of the page again, but I didn't move the page on. Let's go to verse 38. Balaam replied, look, now I have come, but I have no power to say whatever I want. Snake is the other one, is it? I will speak only the message that God puts in my mouth. Then Balaam accompanied Balak to Kiriath Huzoth, where the king sacrificed cattle and sheep. He sent portions of the meat to Balaam and the officials who were with him. The next morning, Balak took Balaam up to Bamoth Baal. From there, he could see some of the people of Israel spread out below him. Sorry, Parkend admin, can you put the KJV of verse 39 up as well, please? All right, let's carry on with Balak here. Balaam. Yeah. In the context of man's disobedience, yes, he does get the animal kingdom to sort us out. And yeah. Balaam blesses Israel. Verse 1. Then Balaam said to King Balak. Then Balaam said to King Balak, build me 7 altars here and prepare 7 young bulls and 7 rams for me to sacrifice. And Balaam went with Balak and they came to Kiriath Huzoth. Okay. I'm just wondering if that's the Kiriath Hezron that Judas Iscariot was from. Balak followed his instructions, and 2 of them sacrificed a young bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to Balak, stand here by your burnt offerings, and I will go to see if the Lord will respond to me. Then I will tell you whatever he reveals to me. So Balaam went alone to the top of a bare hill, and God met him there. Balaam said to him, I have prepared 7 altars and have sacrificed a young bull on a ram of each altar. The Lord gave Balaam a message for King Balak. Then he said, go back to Balak and give him my message. So Balaam returned and found the king standing beside his burnt offerings with all the officials of Moab. This is what the message Balaam delivered was. Balak summoned me to come from Aram. The king of Moab brought me from the eastern hills. Come here, he said. Come, he said, curse Jacob for me. Come and announce Israel's doom. But how can I curse those whom God has not cursed? How can I condemn those who the Lord has not condemned? I see them from the cliff tops. I watch them from the hills. I see a people who live by themselves, set apart from other nations. Who can count Jacob's descendants as numerous as dust? Who can count even a fourth of Israel's people? Let me die like the righteous. Let my life end like theirs. Then King Balak demanded of Balaam, "What have you done to me? I brought you to curse my enemies. Instead, you have blessed them." But Balaam replied, "I will speak only the message that the Lord puts in my mouth." Balaam's second message. Then King Balak told him, "Come with me to another place. There you will see another part of the nation of Israel, but not all of them. Curse at least that many." So Balak took Balaam to the plateau of Zophim near Pisgah the peak. He built 7 altars there and offered a young bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to the king, "Stand here by your burnt offerings while I go over there to meet the Lord." And the Lord met Balaam and gave him a message. Then he said, "Go back to Balak and give him my message." So Balaam returned and found the king standing beside his burnt offerings with all the officials of Moab. "What did the Lord say?" Balak asked eagerly. This was the message Balaam delivered. "Rise up, Balak, and listen. Hear me, son of Zippor. God is not a man, so he does not lie. He is not human, so he does not change his mind. Has he ever spoken and failed to act? Has he ever promised and not carried it through? Listen, I received a command to bless. God has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. No misfortune is in his plan for Jacob. No trouble is in store for Israel. For the Lord their God is with them. He has been proclaimed their king. God brought them out of Egypt. For them, he is as strong as a wild ox. No curse can touch Jacob. No magic has any power against Israel. For now it will be said of Jacob, "What wonders God has done for Israel. These people rise up like a lioness, like a majestic lion rousing itself. They refuse to rest until they have feasted on prey, drinking the blood of the slaughtered." The Lord is their king. Remember that. Then Balak said to Balaam, "Fine, but if you won't curse them, at least don't bless them." But Balaam replied to Balak, "Didn't I tell you that I can do only what the Lord tells me?" Balaam's third message. Then King Balak said to Balaam, "Come, I will take you to one more place. Perhaps it will please God to let you curse them from there." Why is Balaam going? So Balak took Balaam to the top of Mount Peor, overlooking the wasteland. Balaam again told Balak, "Build me 7 altars and prepare 7 young bulls and 7 rams for me to sacrifice." So Balak did as Balaam ordered and offered a young bull and a ram on the altar. Darren, I remember a time I was happy not to be cursed, but cared nothing for his blessing. Yeah, that is spot on. Good one. Numbers chapter 24. By now, you're right there. I'm thinking now a lot about people who might pray to get out of some painful situation, but then never go on to worship the Lord when they're out of it. By now, Balaam realized that the Lord was determined to bless Israel, so he did not resort to divination as before. Instead, he turned and looked out toward the wilderness, where he saw the people of Israel camped, tribe by tribe. Then the Spirit of God came upon him, and this is the message he delivered. Spirit-filled Balaam. This is the message of Balaam, son of Beor, the message of the man whose eyes see clearly, the message of the one who hears the words of God, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who bows down with eyes wide open. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob! How lovely are your homes, O Israel! They spread before me like palm groves, like gardens by the riverside. They are like tall trees planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the waters. Water will flow from their buckets. Their offspring have all they need. Their king will be greater than Agag. Their kingdom will be exalted. God brought them out of Egypt. Hang on, 3 chapters ago I said the angel of the Lord. Oh, got it. But he is strong like a wild ox. He devours all the nations that oppose him, breaking their bones in pieces, shooting them with wild allusion to Eden type existence. Looking down at church life. Breaking their bones in pieces, shooting them with arrows. Like a lion, Israel crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to arouse her? Blessed is everyone who blesses you, O Israel, and cursed is everyone who curses you. King Balak flew into a rage against Balaam. He angrily clapped his hands and shouted, "I called you to curse my enemies. Instead, you have blessed them 3 times. Now get out of here. Go back home. I promised to reward you richly, but the Lord has kept you from your reward." Balaam, that's a good one actually, isn't it? The Lord has kept you from your reward, what you deserve, which was ruin in the form of riches. Balaam told Balak, "Don't you remember what I told your messengers? I said, even if Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver and gold, I would be powerless to do anything against the will of the Lord. I told you that I could say only what the Lord says. Now, I am returning to my own people. But first, let me tell you what the Israelites will do to your people in the future." This is the message Balaam delivered. This is the message of Balaam, son of Beor, the message of the man whose eyes see clearly, the message of the one who hears the words of God, who has knowledge from the Most High, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who bows down with eyes wide open. I see him, but not here and now. I perceive him, but far in the distant future. A star will rise from Jacob. Sue Roberts, so Balaam is a faithful one. Wait. A scepter will emerge from Israel. It will crush the heads of Moab's people, cracking the skulls of people of Sheph. Edom will be taken over, and Seir, its enemy, will be conquered while Israel marches on in triumph. A ruler will rise in Jacob who will destroy the survivors of Ir. Then Balaam looked over towards the people of Amalek and delivered this message. Amalek was the greatest of nations, but his destiny is destruction, crushing of the snake's head. Yeah, from this ruler. Then he looked over towards the Kenites and delivered this message. Your home is secure, your nest is set in the rocks, but the Kenites will be destroyed when Assyria takes you captive. Balaam concluded his message by saying, Alas, who can survive unless God has willed it? Ships will come from the coast of Cyprus. They will oppress Assyria and afflict Eber, but they too will be utterly destroyed. Then Balaam left and returned home, and Balak also went on his way. I'm not done with Balaam and my case against him, but he was used to say correct truths then. And at 10 o'clock, the Bible hour has concluded. God willing, we will meet back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. to see through Numbers and possibly, yeah, we're going to start Deuteronomy tomorrow, aren't we? Yeah, we are. I can't wait. The last book of Moses tomorrow. Should we just, we'll do them all again. We'll just do the first 5 on repeat. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Thank you all for dropping by. God willing, see you tomorrow.